tell us about the meaning of UCF.
Good morning. Each month, the UCF membership team asks one of the members of our congregation to briefly speak about what membership at UCF means to them. Each of us has a different story about what brought us here, what keeps us here, and why membership is so important to each of us. We also hope that these talks will inspire those of you who have not yet joined us to become part of our congregation. So this morning, we're going to have Jay Caniff speak. He'll talk about his journey. Jay has been a member of UCF for over 25 years. He's also one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. Jay.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to lay out my life in 7 minutes. As he said, my name is Jay, and I was born and raised in Detroit. Attended St. Mary's of Redford School along with my several brothers and sisters. There were 13 of us, including mother and dad. As you might expect with a family this big, there was often a certain degree of chaos and frequent moments of high anxiety. But this was all tempered with a great deal of unconditional love amongst everyone. Mother, who is now 97 years old, set the example for us kids. No matter who a person is, if they are suffering in any way, is entitled, by virtue of their humanity, to have their necessary needs met by those of us who are in a position to help them. Mom and Dad expected us to live by this and other important moral convictions. After high school, I worked in the tool and die industry, but gave it up due to boredom and a feeling of being boxed in and limited socially. I eventually began university life and ended up with a master's degree in psychiatric and mental health nursing. I grew to enjoy teaching and counseling veterans and other adults that had chaotic and anxious lives. I was able to draw on my own learned coping skills from my life growing up at home and those I studied in graduate school. There was a point in my life soon after I became an empty nester and both my children had graduated from college and left Michigan. I felt confused about the direction of my life. What am I going to do now? There was a void that could not be filled by friends or family. I eventually guessed, correctly it turns out, that there was an unfulfilled spiritual component in my life and I didn't know where to turn. I had too many unreconciled differences with the Catholic Church, especially in regard to its diminishment of the role of women in the church. However, influences from significant people, including wise nuns, nurses in my life that had much wisdom, my wise parents, plus the fact that I had a profound academic interest in the wisdom of Eastern philosophy and religion. This led me on a quest to find a spiritual path to follow. One day I followed up on an invitation to attend a meditation service at the Detroit Zen Center during its early days. What quiet, what solitude, and what an opportunity to examine my own mind. The idea of Zen practice seemed to resonate within me. I found that despite the age-old Zen Buddhist rituals, including bells, gongs, and chants, it had nothing to do with deities or worshiping of gods. Buddhism operates outside any concept of a god, and when practitioners bow with palms together at the image of a Buddha, it is in honor and gratitude for this man's exemplary life and teachings. Practitioners will also bow to others that enter their lives as a show of respect to their inherent worth and dignity, or one might say, their Buddha nature. When it comes to topics about rebirth and other esoteric ideas, I don't go there, as these discussions distract me from being and living in the present moment. Buddhist practice provides me with a deeper connection with myself and those around me. One thing I find missing, though, from this practice is the lack of social commitment in the local community. Zen folks put most, but not all, their focus and energy into what goes on inside their temple. Then one day, I decided to drop by and visit this little beautiful church on Halstead near my neighborhood, UUCF. Here I listened to a few sermons given by Suzanne Paul, who was minister here at the time. Her messages struck a chord with me. Here was a place that emphasized a certain liberal and humanistic philosophy that attracted me intellectually. Upon further investigation, I found that it had, unlike the Zen community, an active social action committee headed up at that time by a wonderfully dedicated woman by the name of Joan Olds. She and other members were conducting important projects in the community. Later, I found individuals that labored well outside our community and into the world at large. I decided to join UUCF and incorporate the principles of UUism into my life. Principles that sounded much like Buddhist principles that I'd already taken vows to uphold. Yes. I saw no conflict between UUism and Buddhist practice. I learned that the evolution of Unitarianism developed from Judeo-Christian institutions. And in my estimation, they appeared to resemble more a typical Eastern Asian religion than your classical Western religion, with UU's emphasis on the unity of humanity, its compassion to all humans, and its strong attachment to maintaining the health of the environment, just to name a few things. In Buddhism, there are what are called the three refuges, or spiritual and psychological ports in a storm. First, there is the refuge of the Buddha, whose path to enlightenment one may wish to discover and perhaps follow. Secondly, the refuge of the Dharma, which is sometimes described as the law and truth of reality, often realized by one's intuition, using meditation and mindfulness practices as tools to help them gain a form of enlightenment. And lastly, the refuge of community of like-minded people, not unlike the community of folks here at UUCF. This is a place of refuge, safety, and welcoming people. We are unlike many congregations. We exclude no one. It's one's humanity that is the only price of admission here. And speaking of refuges, I would like to finally say in reference to today's issues with refugees, that if and when those in danger seek asylum in this church, we must welcome them with respect and open arms, and be all the more considerate, for they will include those who suffer much, especially in our current political climate. As practicing UUs, we cannot be merely sleepy television watchers of our favorite political shows, nor can we be the quiet watchdog. We, as members of a great historical UU tradition, must sound the alarm and act when we see unjust and bigoted behavior towards vulnerable and oppressed people. This is who we are, and this is our calling. Our hearts, like that of this church, like the compassionate Buddha, yes, even the Sacred Heart of Jesus, must embrace all of humanity. A fundamental love for all people, including those I disagree with, is the most important thing in my life now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Our minister, Reverend Leonette, is out of the pulpit today, and we are delighted to invite Deanne Bednar, who was the pianist here from, we were speaking earlier, 1968 to 1988 for about 30 years. So this is like coming home a little bit for you. And Susan Laser, am I pronouncing that? Or Diana Munch today. So I'll tell you a little bit more about Deanne in a bit, but first, Deanna's going to lead us into, it's correct? Deanne wrote this. Okay, let's stand as you are willing and able. And the lyrics are on page 6.
New to you, but you heard it in the prelude, so it's really simple and repetitive. So see if you can be bold and give it a try. There's 2 verses and then a little musical interlude, and then it goes to the 3rd verse. Does it fit in the circle of life? Does it fit in the circle of life? Does it spring enhance all life's balancing dance? Does it fit in the circle of life? Does it give back as much as it takes? Does it give back as much as it takes? Does its being enhance all life's balancing dance? Does it fit in the circle of life? Does it shine with the radiance of love? Does it shine with the radiance of love? Does its being enhance all life's balancing dance? Does it fit in the circle of life? All right.
Because we have such a packed service today, I'm going to ask you to share your joys and sorrows with each other during coffee hour. So we're going to not do the litany of gathering or joys and sorrows. We'll go right into the message for all ages. So Kim, will you come up and appoint the chalice lighter? And Deanne will be doing our message.
Can you put on the slide? Yeah, thank you.
Do you want the kids to sit on the bench? Or
Anywhere in this area. We're going to touch some stuff and pass things around and everything. If a few more people might want to come up closer so they can hold on to stuff and touch it and stuff.
Can you guys
Yeah.
hear Deanne? Is there a microphone on? Yes.
Oh, it slid down. Just a minute. Let me get it up here. Can the people in the back hear? Even if my head's up like this? Good. Good. Well, I want to tell you a story. once upon a time, and maybe I'll give this back to you in a little bit. Let her hold that for a bit. Once upon a time, I was an art teacher, and I wanted to make these little houses. And I just kept making little houses. So this is out of clay, and the little houses have a fireplace in them. You want to come up a little further? There's a fireplace, and I can put a little incense cone in the fireplace, and smoke comes out the chimney. And look, here's a thatched roof. Have you ever seen a thatched roof? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, people around the world take grasses and they tie them to the roof, and the water rolls off the grasses, and that's their roof. Really. Really. So I made these, and then in time, I got a chance to learn how to build these. And see that building up there? I helped design that building, figure out how we wanted it, what shape we wanted it, and we went out there and we built that building. And it is an hour away from here, just about. It's up north of Oxford.
Hour, I could sleep for an hour.
Yeah? You could sleep for an hour?
Yeah, only if I read it myself.
Well, if you come to this place, you could climb up in the loft. You could climb up a ladder to the loft, and you could sleep in the bed up in this little structure here. And this is called the Straw Bale Studio. So somehow inside of me, there was an idea that just wanted to happen. Like I just kept making these and wanted to make them, and I didn't know why. And I didn't want to be a builder, but I just wanted to make them. See, here's a place where the wood goes, and then we can burn the wood in the fireplace. It's really detailed. And then, after I graduated, went from teaching school, I taught art in school for middle school, that you'll go into middle school after elementary school, or whatever. Anyway, middle school kids are about 12 years old. I taught art, and then I graduated, I retired.
If you're talking about homeschool kids, that's going to be me. And
Yeah, okay. I was in the school system then, and now I teach outside the school. There was a group that came and studied. The kids got up on the roof, and I'll show you some pictures of that.
wow.
Has come true. So this house here, you see it? So we went out on this land. We went out and there were stones on the land because down Michigan, and they broke up on this land because the farmers cleared the land. Kids helped, and they moved the stones into piles so that they could farm. Anyway, we built a foundation, and we did other things. And then we built the walls out of straw bales. Now, this is a baby, tiny straw bale, but you can feel this. And
I have a question about this. How did you make this all go together? It's
and sand. And so that's what the walls are made out of. And this is what some people make their houses out of. They put sticks in the ground, and they weave sticks, and then they put the dirt on it. You want to feel that? So feel how strong that dirt is? Isn't that strong? Yeah.
It doesn't feel like paper at all.
You can hold on to that and touch it. So that's another way to build.
Nothing for old houses.
And then other things that I like to do is I like to go out in the woods and find sticks that are interesting and cool. And I like to take wood and carve spoons. I like to carve spoons so that I can actually use them.
And then
And here's one that I eat out of. And look at this. What's this? Anybody recognize this?
No.
I wouldn't really expect you to, but I found this out by the swamp. Does that give you any hint? And in the middle of the swamp are trees growing. This is what a beaver did to a tree. You can even see, you can see their little teeth marks as they made their home by, they cut down the tree with their teeth and then they drug it out and they make their homes. They cut down the tree with their teeth and the tree falls down and then they drag it out in the water. So if we think about it, all animals know how to build their houses. All animals on the planet, and so do humans. But you know what's weird is now humans have somebody else build their houses for them. But we, all over the world, people build their own houses. So that's what I'm showing you now. Okay. Oh, and what's this? This is a place where, that's where wasps live. That's their home. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a safe one. This is an old wasp nest. But they know how to make their home, and they make it from their mouth and from wood that they chew up, and they make this. Yes. Isn't that amazing?
They make it with their mouth.
They do.
How did you get that? These were those wasps would get you.
And then, look at this. What's this made out of? Can you tell what this is made out of? Like sticks. I made this basket. This basket was like a willow tree, and we took down the branches and I wove it. And that was the first basket I ever made. And then what's this? What's that?
Fur.
It's wool from a sheep, and we made felt out of it, and people used to make clothes out of this, right?
Sheep's wool.
And what's this?
Sorry.
Paper.
What is that?
It really does look like it's. Did you actually cut this off of one?
And what's this? If anybody can guess this, I'll give you $1 million.
Fur balls. Fur balls.
This is a fur ball made from my hair. And this is made.
Cut your hair in one day, yikes.
Oh, that took, you clean your comb out, that kind of thing. So this is from sheep. So let's take a look at the slideshow now and see how we built these houses. And would you bring the things up here?
And look at these.
Yeah. And we're going to have these things in the back so you can touch them too.
I can touch something that been cutting off with wood. Can we come around and tell anyone if they want to touch this?
Oh yeah, look at this. This is beeswax from local bees. And they, when they make the honeycombs to put their honey in and put their eggs in, because bees know how to make their own homes, the wax from their honeycomb we can make candles with, and we did. Okay, now, let's see if we can get our attention up to the screen. So how can we do that? Do you think it's possible? All right, here's the slideshow. What kind of roof is this on this building? You probably don't have a name for it. It's called a thatched roof. It's made. Okay, it's made out of Phragmite reedgrass that grows all around in our ditches and stuff. So it's a tall grass. I should have brought some. It's sort of like bamboo. Oh, it's the kind of grass that grows taller than we do. It's a type of grass, but it's not the kind that we step on. So let's go to the next slide. And we're just going to be going through this pretty quickly.
Did I go the right direction?
No. Okay, look at this. This is the inside. Can you see a tree in that house?
Yes.
That
why
was-
is there a tree in that house?
That was sculpted with this earth, the same earth from that bag, the same earth that's underneath the ground here, and we sculpted it into a tree. We shaped around the windows, and the walls, inside the walls, are big straw bales that are there like building blocks to make the wall up. And straw is very insulative. In other words, it'll keep you warm, and it's warmer than a regular house. A regular house is R19, and this is maybe R40. You don't know what that is, but it's twice as warm as a regular house. And then it has the plasters on the inside and outside. Next. And can you see the loft here with the person up in the loft? Can you see the ladder? Where's the ladder? On the right side there, where they climbed up? And they're sticking their head up there, and it's not a very clear picture. Do you see a wood stove with a fire? So there's a fire up there. Can you see the fire in the... Oh, I'm losing my mic here, and if I lose my sound, will you let me know? Okay, next slide. And here's another picture. Look at that roof. Do you see grass there coming down? The water just runs off of it. That roof is 18 years old, and it's doing fine. Next slide. And what's that? What are those things that we've got in our hands? Do you know? Have you seen one of these? It's a straw bale that like you use for horses and stuff and on a farm. Has anybody seen a straw bale in life? Yeah? Maybe Halloween? So that's what the walls are made of. They're like big building blocks. Next. And we have fun. Now these people are taking the dirt and adding water to it and making mud. And they're like on the beach, and they're stepping on it, like with their feet like this, and we dance.
Actually stepping on a beach in the backyard?
We took the dirt, which has got mud in it, clay in it, and we add water to it, and we mix it up with our feet, which is really fun, and people always laugh when they do this.
Why does it look...
And then they take it, the mud, and take the next picture. And look at this. Can you see what they're doing? These are young people from Waldorf School, because they study this in third grade. They study natural building around the world. And they're making this little hobbit structure here that's a sauna. Can you see them building it? And they're taking the mud and they're putting it up on the wall. And they're mixing it and they're playing with it. Next. And here they're polishing the mud on the wall. Does that look like dirt? And they're polishing it with little plastic discs. I don't use plastic much because I know what plastic is. Do you know what plastic is made from?
What? I don't know what...
Does anybody know what plastic's made from?
Oil.
Oil. And the molecules of oil are taken apart and put together in ways that never occurred on the planet before. And so we don't know exactly what's going to happen with all of that. But I love it to fix the plaster and make it smooth. And here's some happy people. What are they climbing on? We like to climb. So they're climbing up on a scaffolding, it's called. It's pieces of metal with a place you can sit so that we can get up high. And they look pretty happy, huh? Next. Here's another little building. It's called the Kids Cottage, and it's for kids to play in. And look at the roof again. What kind of roof is that? Thatched roof. Yeah, and then the walls are straw bale with mud. Okay. And here we are. This is how we collected that roof material. Check this out. Have you seen anything like this growing?
So you just actually touch it and then it turns into that?
So we cut it down from the field with a big knife. It's called a serrated sickle, and it's kind of a curved knife with little teeth on it. We cut it with a knife, and we bundled it together, and we took it home. Next. And this is a picture of somebody making it into a roof in the middle of winter, which is not when you're supposed to do it, but that's when they were visiting. And she's pretty happy, and she's become, part of her life, she's a natural building teacher now. And look at people. They're climbing up on scaffolding, and there's the building that we built that were sawn locally. And usually, though, we cut down our own timbers from the land there, and we make them into a nice sturdy structure. And this is like incredibly strong. You could pass that around. So look at all these people. Sometimes we have lots of people on the land where I live now up there that come together for 2-week workshops and learn how to build the house from the beginning to the end. At least we get some experience in it. And this is Kensington Metro Park. And you can go visit this structure at the, anybody go to Kensington Metro Park? So this is at the farm center down at the lower level by the river. And it's a place for kids to go and play around. Next. And there's things that kids can play on, like climbing things and a tractor and a picnic table and a big old tree. And it's a really nice destination at the farm center at Kensington Metro Park. And I was part of the team that built that structure, that designed it, got money from the state of Michigan to build it, had volunteers from all over the place, and we thatched that roof too. That's now 2006, so it's over 10 years old. Next. There's the thatching. There we are. Look who's on the top of the roof. Look at that funny guy. That's Ollie. Ollie got married and has a baby now.
Looks like he's married.
So he would crawl up to the top of the roof and have fun. We were all having fun. Next. Stones again. Next. People plastering the wall. That guy on the bottom, Don Booth, he and his wife practiced with me, went home and did a little structure, a garden structure on their land, and then they built their whole house out of straw bale and plasters, and they put lime on the top outside of it. And this is in the inside of the house that I live in, and so we're putting this mud on the walls. We're mixing up mud, and we're smearing it on the walls of the house. And I don't have, my mother isn't there, so she's not telling me not to do it. I get to choose, well, so we're doing it really nicely. So this shows some different age people. Next. And if you can see this, you can hardly tell. There's a bench in the back that we made out of a straw bale, and then we put the mud over it. And we pretended that there's mountains, so the mountains are made out of mud. And then you can see the log ladder. We made that ladder. We found the sticks. We cut them out of the woods. We lashed them together. Next. And look at the loft. You can sleep up in there. You can crawl up that ladder and sleep up there. And there's a hammock and everything. Okay. Other sculpting, we have classes on this. People come over and we do it together. Somebody had this great idea that around the light switch they could make a sun. So they did. Next. Look at this. Can you see that building in the back? Is that as focused as we get? Okay. So in the back there's a really cute little building, and the next slide shows maybe a little bit better. Oh.
Is that getting better?
Yeah, a little bit better. Thank you. Next slide is a picture that you can see a little bit better of it. What kind of roof is that? That's a thatched roof. Yeah. And the walls are made out of this wattle and daub like this. So it's very simple, and people around the world, really, people around the world live in houses, and, you know, old people, ancient people lived in houses like this. Next. What's this? This is an oven. The door comes off, the face is a door, and we put fire in there, and we have a little bonfire, and then we take the fire out and we cook pizzas in it. So people all around the world do this. This is like how people used to bake things. So we can do it and have fun in our backyards. And this is really a good starter project for people because you build a foundation and the whole thing. And happy people having pizza. Can you see the bottles there? Those are bottles that we're using to make a window, and then we squish the mud in between them to hold them up. And this is a bottle wall. It lets in the light, but you can use something recycled and be creative with it. And this ladder leads up to the loft in the Hobbit sauna. And the last picture that you'll see, and we made that ladder, is people up on the living roof. So we made this roof. We put down a membrane, which is a synthetic material, and then we put down some dirt, essentially, hay and straw, and compost from the horses next door and stuff. And we put some plants in that would like to grow in that setting. These are sedum, and they are doing great. And it's so much fun to be up on the roof. Once people are up there, they don't want to come down. So that's a story of going from having an idea that I didn't ever know what would become of it, and then taking a class, and then finding a situation to practice in, and then having it become the rest of my life.
Okay, so now it's time for the children to go to Ari. So we'll sing them out with 2 verses of I Can Change the World with my own tunes. Change the world. So in the interest of time, I'm going to say that we skip the offering, and if you have something, if you have an offering, please leave it with the ushers on your way out. So we'll also skip the music for the offertory. That's sorry about that, but I. Yeah, I know. So, all right. So I want to let you know. Obviously, I'm sure you're all as impressed as I am that. Of Deanne's knowledge, but just want to, in way of introduction, she is an instructor and coordinator of the Strawbale Studio, a place and program that seeks to joyfully connect people and nature, as we saw, on the land outside Oxford, Michigan, amidst enchanted thatched roof structures. Folks can come to a potluck, take a class, or intern and experience natural building and sustainable skills. Her background, middle school art teacher. She has a Master's of Art in Social Ecology, Natural Building Training with the Cobb Cottage Company, and is an illustrator of 3 books on natural building. So I'd like to welcome Deanne. This is it. Do you want the projector still on?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Hi. You know, this is my church. I went here 30 years before I moved up north and got involved with the Ecological Awareness Center, and then took the natural building course, and then hooked right up with some people that lived on property that had a house there that wanted something built in the backyard. And so it's great to be back, and I know how much you're holding here in terms of coming from, our traditional religions and shaping something that fits, us, you, and co-creating it together, and coming into community with each other. Every week, you get to come and be together, and I hear that you have a walk next week where you go outside. So it's great to be home, and thank you for holding a space like this, and the symbol of the all the religions that has that's been up there for in the early days when I was first here. So what I'd like to talk about today is connection. I noticed you had another service rather recently about it, and I think it's the key word to me is when we're connected, when we feel connected, we feel happy. We feel our needs are fulfilled in different ways, and connection can happen across the spectrum of life. So the natural building is one way that I have gotten a chance to be more connected. And through that experience, I've reflected on the things that have seemed really important to me. And I guess what I'd most likely like to connect with you on is how do we each find our edge where we actually participate in nature in a juicy, fun, visceral way, and maybe move from what is common for us, which is to be like inside looking out, driving in a car, looking at nature, seeing it kind of as a backdrop or a landscape, and push ourselves into, maybe not push, but allow ourselves to be pulled in, drawn in to a really embodied sense that we are living and breathing with everything that's ever lived and breathed on this planet. And all the water that's ever been on the planet is recirculating. And we know these ideas, but getting from our current lifestyle to really embody and be part of it is tough for us. And it's even tough for me. Like, how do I get my body outdoors, even though I live in the woods and I have things to do? I have all this stuff that's going on, and I am retired from teaching, although, I have work that I do with the natural building, but I'm home, and so I've got lots of advantages, and it's still hard for me. Yet, I think that if we want to bridge to the future, ecologically, if we want to have be able to transition our Earth to being, resilient and happy in the future, I think we all know we're going to need to shift things up. So, what I'd like to talk a little bit more about is some ideas about shifting things up. And I have about 10 minutes, and I said a lot of what I had to say with the children. So I'll hit a few points. With natural building, one of the things we look at is, instead of saying, what house do I want to build and where can I get what I want for it, we would say, what is it I need in my house and what do I have? So when we built the structure, the Strawbell Studio, or the Hobbit house, let's say the Hobbit structure here, I was asking, what do I want and what do I have? Well, we've got dirt, we've got trees, and the grasses, and the plants, and the stones. I have a lot of resources because I happen to be on land. And these resources are local. So part of the whole picture that we live in is that things have gone from being local to being globalized. And one of the ways we could think about this is think about what's in our houses. Is there anything in the house that hasn't gone through a machine process? Can you think of anything in your house that hasn't somehow had a machine involved with it? Yes? A sculpture? And what's the sculpture made out of? Clay? And where did the clay come from? Where did the clay come from? We don't know. It is a natural material, and it was handmade. So I would say that's becoming layers and layers more connected. And that sculpture probably means a lot to you, and it meant a lot to the person, and they had like an I-thou relationship with it. They put their, feelings and intuition and time and hands into it. So That's cool. And we hit a point where we're into a plastic bag that the clay came in from possibly somebody dug it up, though. People do go out and find sources of clay and dig them up. And I do that. Maybe I have some help from other people, interns and volunteers that come through, they dig, or I have machines that bring dump loads, and there's a machine involved in getting it to me. But I'm working my way down. Can we think of any other thing in your house? Yes.
I have yarn from an alpaca farm where I got to meet the alpacas and watch the ladies spin it and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Now we're talking, huh? Yeah. There's a little in between of our cars going back and forth, and that we don't live right on site. And me, I live in a situation where there's land, there's buildings, there's my house, but there's just temporary community. So I'm not there either. My house runs on propane. I'm trying to figure out how to get some wood burners in there because I lost my heat the last couple days, and I'm like, no. There's pipes that can freeze and all of that. And I'm like, whoa, this is why we have propane stoves, because we don't want to be feeding that stove maybe all the time. So there's going to be a lot of decisions to be made as to how much of our modern world can we bring in and how well can we do it. And there's a little phrase I have is, can we have the magic of the modern world not destroy the magic of the natural world? Like, the natural world is obviously just beyond comprehension in its complexity and balance and how things, work together and all of that. And, the more we know about nature, the more magnificent it is. And then we're creating magnificent things like the internet and, oh my gosh, fiber optics and things that were never here before, so that we can communicate across the planet and we can share information, we can download it into our brains. And the young people that come through my way are under the radar. They're traveling around the world. They're going to woofing situations, worldwide workers on organic farms, woof. They're woofing. And they're going to Venezuela, and they're helping with somebody start an organic farm. And they're traveling around kind of underneath the awareness of most people, collecting information about bridging to the future. And that's pretty exciting. I get to be with those people like all the time, and I get their resumes, and I'm like, whoa, can I handle this? It's like they're so engaged in this transition. So coming back to us, here we are in this situation where mostly we're indoors. How much time do we spend out of doors a day? Like, maybe in your own mind you could come up with a figure. It's pretty low, isn't it? An hour. How many people can say that they spend an hour in nature? And I'm going to kind of go like this with my hand even. Cool, yeah. Maybe a half an hour might be more than we'd expect every day. Maybe 10 minutes, honestly, really. And then, are we off a human-made surface? What do? You walk in the woods? What's that?
A dirt road, but that's human-made.
That's kind of human-made. So, it's sort of half and half, huh? Yeah. So it's not like we're a little bit separated from nature. We're really almost, what would that be? Half an hour a day, 10 minutes a day out of 24 hours. We're really separated from nature. Although we feel connected, I think that's because of maybe the media and our windows and things like that. So how do we step out and become really connected to helping bridge the future? Because we've got issues. So what I do is I think about the circle of life. Is every decision I'm making fitting in the circle of life? And I get pretty micromanaged on that, like I think about the water. What's the source of the water? The cup. It's a plastic cup. Maybe I can replace it with a handmade ceramic cup. So I can start piece by piece to having my life have integrity with what my hope is for the future, and just start changing it out, start talking about it, start supporting each other. And in the back, there's lots of resources that you can help maybe connect you. And some of you I know are connected, and you might even want to team up and have a group that meets by Skype, or maybe you have the time to come here, because time's an issue too, because we're making money to buy our products and have our lives. You know, that thing kind of fits together and doesn't leave us with a lot of time. But maybe a support group to investigate how we can move our lives, like really into a more, to making decisions that are nurturing to all of life, and like have integrity through their whole life cycle. And the last idea I want to leave you with is embodied energy. So embodied energy, how many people have heard of that phrase before, embodied energy? So in everything, there's a life cycle of its production and manufacture, and resource collection, manufacture, transportation, our use, and then its final, what happens to it afterwards. And there's energy costs along the way. I mean, there's energy input. And that energy, fossil fuel, has an effect on the planet. The mining has an effect on the planet. The plastics have an effect on the planet in ways we just don't even know yet. And some of it's showing up. So this is an embodied energy in the product. So I actually think about stuff as much as I can and try to keep bringing it down and down so that I have a connection with life that is direct, as unmediated by machines as possible. And there's joy in that, and there's also a deep satisfaction in that. So the things that are maybe the closest, the easiest to get to would be things like our food system, farmers markets, CSA, community-supported agriculture, where you buy a food share. Heard of CSAs? Talk to each other. Local eggs. I actually reach under the chicken's fluffy breast and take the eggs out. And when I eat those eggs, I'm so happy. And I go outside and I forage for dandelions and wild chives and plantain and things that grow in the lawn. Take a foraging class. There's actually, I'll be doing some in the next couple of months, and there's people around here. Have Jim McDonald come speak about local plants. And I have these eggs and plants every morning. So there's a list of a whole bunch of things that you can look into, and some of them might be resonant for you. And I know we've got a long way to come, but we got here piece by piece, and I think that we can move back into it. And you can tell the joy in it. I mean, there's a vitality that is in direct connection with nature, and you know it. You've all had it in places in your life. So that's the basic message, and my time is up. So the next song is, we're going to, or are we?
Maybe we'll forego the hymn and just do the postlude.
Okay, I'm going to read the words to it. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation our vow, giving, receiving, as love shows us how. So it's not easy, but let's do the best we can. Thank you. Do I sit down?
Yes. Yes. Are you?
I'm not so sure the postlude makes sense since I didn't play the other two pieces. I didn't. My intention was not to rack your brain. The other two pieces were quite a bit more somber.
Well, if you want to.
No, that's okay. I'm
swap it
just going to
out.
explain what
Okay.
this piece is. There's a little bit about it in the book, but this is called The Will o' the Wisp, or Les Follets. John wrote it for flute alone. And it's supposed to be a depiction of the twinkling lights that rise over a fog, which we all know is some kind of a methane gas that will light up at night. But a long time ago, they made up stories about it. Plus, they thought there was like an enticing magic spell. Maybe these were spirits of people who have died and couldn't make it out of here yet. Or maybe they were fairies. But whatever, there was something bad about them too. They would lure you into the bog where you could get lost and maybe even die. But yet they were playful and interesting. And they also said that they were scatterbrained, meaning that like parts of their brain were missing. So you'll hear that in the song. It does definitely sound scatterbrained, and it does sound like you're being lured into something a little bit diabolical. So it didn't mean to just. Everything else was slow and pretty, okay?